A big part of what makes Circling Europe different from the other schools is the practice of surrendered leadership. This is the version of circling that I experienced in that very first circle back in Sweden. The practice of surrendered leadership is seen as the next stage in development. A practice that, in a sense, both transcends and includes circling. It is a leadership that takes the principles deeper into embodiment by making sure leadership is always grounded in surrender.
We do a lot of circling in groups, and we call that surrendered leadership. And why we call it that is because the usual experience we have in groups is like, who's a leader? And it can be conflict about who's a leader. But actually, what we're learning is to lead from surrender. And surrender is not your like white flag, like I give up and I've been defeated. It's that, okay, what's here? To really surrender, you have to know what's here. So that's that process of presence. But when you discover what's here, the surrender is, can you step into like really being what the truth is? Leading yourself from surrender. That kind of leadership's really different to a lot of other leadership. So if I'm with a group of 6 people, what you'll usually see is people have like ways they've learned, like they could have been in a family where you've got to pay attention to everyone. So you're in the group and you're like trying to listen to everyone. But actually when you pay attention, you don't actually want that. You actually are drawn to 2 people. And that's where most of your real attention goes to, but you override that from this like, okay, to be a good person and good leader, I've got to listen to everyone, which actually will be probably very counterproductive for you.
I get a sense of like that I'm distracting myself by looking around and wondering if this leads nowhere, then I'm taking up your guys' time. I don't really want to attempt to.
I'm just trying to connect with you when I feel rejected.
Or you had the opposite experience where in your family, what you said didn't matter to anyone or they wouldn't listen. So then you're in the group and you don't know why you do it, but you don't say anything. And you're kind of there and then you're kind of pissed off or like, what am I doing here? But actually that was your experience growing up. And then you get a chance to get in touch with that. And with this meditation and the way people can be with you to support you being in that, you can discover like, oh yeah, the pain that came from being like ignored or not encouraged is quite something to get in touch with.
Share more. It's being rejected, isn't it?
I think it's the experience is something like somehow resonating a lot with what it is that's going on in my body, and I'm trying to be part of the conversation and just being ignored. I know it's hard to do.
It's hard to look.
And when you can do that in a way that feels supportive, actually that can liberate often the anger or the passion you have to actually speak. It's like, that's your truth. You've got something to contribute. And then when you realize that and you start to dare to bring it and you're tentative, but then you find that, little by little, you just share your truth and people actually respond.
I was talking to you and you just ignored me.
You're looking now. You opened your eyes.
Yeah. No, you didn't hear me.
What's it like?
It's very confusing. It's like I'm in another reality or something.
Do you feel I'm still ignoring?
I feel scared because I was talking to you and it seems like you didn't hear me at all. But
what's the fear now?
I think it's maybe some experience of like reality breaking down or something like that.
I notice I feel very numb, and it's like speaking, it's like I have to cut through a very thick wall of something. It's like a collapse or a freeze, or I'm not sure. It's like, it feels a bit relieving to speak.
I feel more alive hearing you speak.
I feel my heart in your shadow.
What did you say?
I feel my heart in your shadow.
So it's again a dojo for this like collective intelligence to be able to be in a group, and how you do it well is actually to learn to be actually more yourself. But what you'll discover is the more you are yourself, you're much more than you ever realized.
I feel like I'm not following. I also really have a hard time hearing what is being said.
Yeah, I was visiting this place that's related to just everything being held back inside of me, I think maybe in my family or something. And then, there is a lot of, it's this judgment, like if I speak, no one will hear me, like nobody can. It doesn't even make sense to try to connect, because it's just not possible. And it came from this experience of being ignored when I was speaking from my heart. Also just appreciating being with that sadness, because often when I feel it on my own, it's too much. Like I can't stay with it. So I was also just enjoying just being able to breathe and just being there and crying. Yeah, I think the feeling for me is something about if I can sit in this, then I don't have to be so scared when it happens. So like building strength or building capacity or any places in myself that I'm afraid of where I collapse.
In this version of the practice, we're feeling the influence of our need to be seen and fit in, and also our desire to be an individual. But we're not acting from them unconsciously. Instead, we feel the different perceptions, feelings, and conceptual understandings and hold them in a deeper unknown to allow more space for something new to emerge. It means that we're open to the continual flux of experience as it unfolds in each moment, more intimate with ourselves and the group. It's probably not a surprise that surrendered leadership is where I struggle the most, as this is where we really journey into the unknown. And as I touched on earlier, going through the different phases of my own hero's journey, I had periods where I doubted this practice, where I was even annoyed by it, where it seemed too simple, too intellectual, too navel-gazing and self-centered. I had periods where I wanted it to be more complicated. I wanted proper rules and regulations and not just principles. What I actually wanted was the illusion of control, because that wildness and the uncertainty of the practice could be uncomfortable. But as I slowly got better at surrendering to all of this, I started understanding the healing powers inherent in this wildness, what they in Quechua, the language of the Andes, call salka, the undomesticated energy that brings us into contact with the great mystery and beauty of existence. So out of my surrender came my salka. That was my first big gift from the practice. And from there on, I could more easily see all the ways that we are holding ourselves back.